Hey everyone, welcome to our video series, Canal Days, and thanks for joining us for today's episode of the former post office of Easthampton, Massachusetts. I'm your host, Carrie, here with my co-host, local historian and founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. As your personal tour guide, Robert will lead you through some of the most iconic sites and their legends of historic significance throughout New England's preeminent and pivotal state of Massachusetts. With his expert insights, every monument and memorial story comes to life. Afterwards, don't forget to check out his website, holyokecanaltour.org, to access the full Canal Days video and podcast series. Also, check out his free in-person public tours he offers throughout Western Mass and the 2025 schedule for these special events. You can also book personalized private tours for groups of all sizes, tailored to your interests. To discover all that and much more, remember to log on to holyokecanaltour.org. So, what year was the former post office originally built?
It was made in 1933, and a lot of post offices were built that year because of Works Progress Administration Act from the Roosevelt administration. About 150 of them were, and then the next year a lot more too, and then the year after that a lot more too. They were trying to give men a job, and they're trying to build a nice post office for a lot of these wonderful communities. So it closed in the year 1987, so it's open for 64 years. It's now moved up higher in Northampton, Route 10. And this one has become the Veteran Services, the Enrichment Center, and also a Senior Center for Easthampton. So we'll go up. Okay, so it's made in a neoclassical style, like a lot of post offices were. And the doors tell you exactly what they do nowadays, as I mentioned. And in this corner, now behind a lot of plants, is a very big cornerstone. It's hard to get at. But it says William Wooden, Secretary of the Treasury, James Farley, Postmaster General, Lawrence Robert, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, James Wetmore, Acting Supervisor Architect, 1933. And looking down in the basement, they have this little touch of an arch coming out. Right, and they made it as park-like as possible because now it's a senior center. And they made it as cozy as they possibly could. Okay, so we made it all the way around, and I'll give you a view. It is next to the Payson Congregational Church in downtown Easthampton. Is right up to about 100 yards away. Okay, thank you.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I'm your host, Carrie, along with my co-host, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. Our Canal Days series delves into the vast collection of historical sites throughout New England's preeminent and pivotal state of Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover history throughout local communities, highlighting historic landmarks and remaining relics, all while uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days will be learning about the post offices of Easthampton, Massachusetts. So, review of the Postal Service operations and establishment pre-1933.
They were mostly on Union Street. There were a couple of buildings that were very heavily used for the Postal Service, and that was from about 1903 to 1934. They were using space for a post office. One was 52 Union Street, and then they moved to 43 Union Street. And so it's been on Union Street for I was on Union Street for a long time, since when the federal post office was put in. It was also on Union Street. Before that, of course, Easthampton had post offices. Most of them were on Main Street. They would actually be in these little shops or little homes because Easthampton was very small. And city delivery did not start till 1903, just to show you how small it was. That means people had to go to a certain place to pick up their mail. And city delivery corresponded with the need for a post office to sort the mail. And that's when they started in a couple locations on Union Street. And today we're going to talk about the federal post office, put in the 1930s, and the modern one, and then what are called contract post offices. But all postal history takes up not only location for the post offices, but also the postmasters that served the area. Also, what would happen before Easthampton even became a town. And it also includes postmarks and postal canceling devices, and how those postmarks have changed through the years. There are some postmarks that are very common by their nature, and there are some are not. And certain contract stations will have sometimes a different look to them, so you can actually collect around the theme of a given town's postal devices, locations, postmaster, and also the looks of the postmark itself. And I've done this kind of stuff before for certain towns.
And to adapt to the way the Postal Service operations were, describe how Easthampton's original post office was first created.
Okay, in 1933, the federal government put into Easthampton a federal post office on Union Street. It's still there. It's not used as a post office anymore. It's rather used for a couple different agents or departments of the city of Easthampton. But it was a post office from 33 to 97, or 64 years. And it was put in the same look as a lot of post offices were being put in the early 1900s. And then in 1933, I believe 120 post offices were put in around the country under Works Progress Administration regulations and under the workers. And then in 34 and 35, more post offices were put in across the United States. So this is a very common looking post office. It's in a neoclassical look, and it really helped Easthampton develop because it had a large storage area and the ability to send out a lot of bulk mail very quickly.
And stick around and we'll be right back after this quick announcement. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts? Or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Kumu. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, or more, Robert's Tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families and groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit HolyokeCanalTour.org or email bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com to book your private tour today. So getting back to our Canal Days episode of the Post Offices of Easthampton, can you clarify if there is a modern post office in Easthampton today, or is the original still utilized?
So yes, there is since the year 1997 a modern post office. It's found on 191 Northampton Street. So for the past 28 years it's been there. And it has the look of a 1990s post office, very efficient looking with a large parking lot in front. So for 64 years it was on one building dedicated for that. It also was on Union Street from 19 onwards, and so a lot of postal life was on that street, but that was the center of Northampton, and since most people didn't have cars, it was a very easy place to have a post office. But with more people having cars, they put post offices more in the outskirts of a given town or city, and they've done just that with the brand new 1997 post office. And who knows what direction they'll go next as society changes.
And define what a contract station is and its purpose.
A contract station is when you have a satellite station, basically, or almost a substation. A substation is a little higher up because it's almost like a post office. But a contract station is when you have a store, or sometimes very in old situations, a tavern or a residence, take on the jobs that a post office would do in terms of taking in the mail and calculating the correct postage. All right, so they had one of these stations on Cottage Street starting about the year 1905, and it lasted a very long time. But it did move around. It was mostly associated in the beginning with a pharmacist and then later with a retail store. There was also one on Main Street, and that was from the year 1907. And it might have started in one of the mills, and it lasted only maybe about 10 years. There was also one on Pleasant Street, probably also in another one of the mills, and that might have lasted about a half century. And then there was one on Parsons Street from 1917, and that lasted about 40 years. Always, again, associated with pharmacies, but that is very common having inside of a pharmacy. Now, a very big case is there was a substation at the Mount Tom. And so that one would service not only that neighborhood of Mount Tom, a neighborhood of Easthampton, but it also would service the trolley line going by, because the trolley was right there, and it would service the train that was going right by there, the passenger train along the Connecticut River. So that was a very important one. And it was also, Mount Tom Village was probably the only true village that was far away from downtown Easthampton that had a significant amount of population. So it was very important, and it had so much transportation going by. It also would have serviced people that lived in Smith's Ferry, which was part of Northampton until 1909, when it was given up to Holyoke. And a lot of those people probably felt isolated from Northampton, but later they weren't isolated from Holyoke, but they were far away from downtown Holyoke. So they might have conveniently used the Mount Tom postal substation. So there's a lot to postal history. It goes on and on. You can imagine what a larger community would have for postal history. So thank you very much.
And thank you for tuning into our Canal Days series. And our episode on the post office of Easthampton, Massachusetts, and joining us on our journey to the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past and the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Camus, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. And don't forget to keep exploring and discovering history that is hidden in plain sight all around us. Thanks for listening, and